Joining me right now, I don't want to waste a moment, our special guest, Anthony Scaramucci, founder and managing partner at Skybridge Capital and strategic advisor at AlphaTon Capital. Thank you for being with us. Great to see you, Anthony Scaramucci.
Good to be here.
First of all, congratulations on your new book, Solana Rising. I think it's #1 in the investment research category. Why now for Solana Rising?
Yeah, it got to #1 in new releases on Amazon, so thank God for that. But I think Solana is one of the more interesting stories in crypto because it's an easy platform to use to eventually tokenize assets. And so you report live from the stock exchange. I believe, as does people like Larry Fink, Nicole, that we're going to be tokenizing stocks and bonds over the next 3 to 5 years. And Solana is a very inexpensive, very fast, does tens of thousands of transactions per second with great finality. And even though we're in a little bit of a crypto swoon right now and a correction that started at the beginning of October or mid-October, I do believe that this is going to be one of the big stories over the next 5 years.
It hasn't really recovered in the same way that we saw Bitcoin, trying to make a comeback from the highs to the lows. We're not that far off the lows, but you were the one, at least one person who really liked Bitcoin very, very early on. And we saw Bitcoin go to 127,000. There was a lot of FOMO. It has since pulled back. I'm going to ask you about Bitcoin and what your outlook is there. But why Solana now? Is the value right here at these levels at 100, when you say 132 or so, is this the right time to get in?
Well, listen, I do believe so. I mean, it's a volatile asset. And so if we were having this presentation 3 days ago, it was 144. And so it's definitely a volatile asset. And so we at Skybridge have dollar cost averaged into Solana over the years. But the real question is there going to be use cases and utility on the blockchain? We believe the answer to that is yes. And then what are some of the easiest technologies to use on the blockchain to create that utility? And for me, and I write about this in the book, Solana hits all those metrics. Developers find it easy to use. If you go to a Wall Street firm and you interview CTOs, you say, well, you're eventually going to tokenize the publicly traded company, the stock of the publicly traded company that you're working in, or if you're a brokerage firm, you're going to eventually use tokenization to trade stocks and bonds. What would be the leading candidate and what token would have the most market share? We here at Skybridge believe that it would be Solana. So yes, it hasn't recovered as quickly as Bitcoin. We're sort of any altcoin, which basically means any cryptocurrency other than Bitcoin, has been in a bear market for the last 6 months. Bitcoin has actually held up reasonably well, given what's gone on in other aspects of the market. And I just think this is a function of having a great year last year with very high expectations for this year, Nicole. And you've been around the market a long period of time. Some people were over-levered going into October when the president put out that tweet related to the rare earth minerals conflict with China. And that tweet, of course, was on October 10th. We saw a massive correction and a massive deleveraging in the space. And so I think it's going to take a little while for these coins, these tokens to heal from a market's perspective. But I like the fundamentals long term. And if you believe, like I do, that you're going to get 1 to 2 rate cuts over the next 4 months, I think there'll be a buoyant market in 2026 that investors can take advantage of.
Yeah, people would like that because then it would be risk on. That would be great for crypto. You talk about, it being a strong utility and actually challenging some traditional payment systems. What would that be an example of? What would it be challenging, Solana? I know you said using it to trade stocks and bonds.
Yeah, I'll give you two.
I want to know how prevalent that would be, but what would it be challenging?
Okay, so I'll give you 2 easy examples. There are now Solana-based stable coins. Circle has one, for an example. I believe eventually they'll sit on your wallet inside your phone, and you'll have dollars on the Solana network that you'll be able to transact with retailers or restaurateurs. And so if you and I walk into the restaurant, we're going to pay for the meal, I'll be able to use the phone, get the wallet address of the waiter or the business owner, and move money B2B to the owner without going through the credit card system. That would be one example. A second example would be, and this really dates me, Nicole, but when I joined the industry, when I joined Wall Street, it was T+5. So it took 5 days to get a stock into your account. Now it's T+1. But with Solana, if we could take those securities and put them on top of the layer 1 contract known as Solana, it would be T plus minutes. And I guess if you really want to be cautious due to all the regulation, it could be T plus a couple of hours, and it would end up in your account. And it would be done at about a 90% discount of cost of what's currently going on in the marketplace. So I think these technologies will eventually be adopted and used, but we will need some greater clarity from the U.S. government, and I think those bills will be passed, by the end of the first half of 2026.
Look, yeah, and as you said and have noted, I mean, you have Paul Atkins and Trump who have been on board with crypto and watching regulation there and trying to move it forward. And Democrats and Republicans alike have agreed that this administration has been good for crypto. When Larry Fink spoke recently, he was saying, he sort of, I guess he still likes Bitcoin, but he felt like maybe he got in at the wrong point. But to your point, you still, and like Larry Fink, you both think Bitcoin goes higher, but it's all about the tokenization. And you used the example of even now the tokenization to trade stocks and bonds. I mean, does this replace exchanges? Is it half and half? Is it just a small portion, or is it in addition? How big will it be?
So I don't think it's going to replace the exchanges any more than computer programs replace the exchanges. Maybe there's less people on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange today, but that stock exchange is as vibrant and as more liquid than ever before. I just think rather than going through the DTC and the different administrative agencies to clear stock transactions or bond transactions for that matter, you'll be able to clear these over the blockchain, a fully transparent ledger system that will make it cheaper and less expensive. But I do believe that the exchanges will exist, but this will just be the methodology that they use to do these transactions. You brought up Larry. Larry spoke at Andrew Sorkin's Deal Book on Monday. Yeah. I saw him there with Brian Armstrong, and he's more or less saying what I'm saying. And I think his point about Bitcoin is if you're a Bitcoin holder and you got in, anytime after 2015, you do feel late to the party. Having said that, if you believe what we believe, that Bitcoin gets to at least half of the market capitalization of gold, there's probably a 10x opportunity in Bitcoin over the next 5 to 7 years. It's just going to be whether or not people can stay the course, because Bitcoin is volatile. And a lot of loose holders got shaken out of Bitcoin this year.
Right. That brings it to $1 million, the 10x, right? Basically, is what you're
exactly.
saying. When it gets store of value and it really continues to grow and bounce back. I mean, what do you think about something like Strategy, which now it's just a terrible chart. You feel badly for the folks who are invested in it. Michael Saylor's been obviously touting all this. Are people using this as a hedge? So maybe buying Bitcoin on one side and hedging or shorting this on the other side? What's going on?
Well, I think that's definitely happened, and I think some of the short sellers like Jim Chanos, although Jim has said that he's closed his short position, hit the stock hard. I think there's a wrong assumption, and I'll just say, and this is my opinion, people look at that and say, okay, well, if you get that negative flywheel going where Bitcoin drops in value, it's going to put enormous pressure on Strategy to start selling. And of course, what Strategy did in the last 2 weeks is they displayed on their balance sheet $1.4 billion. And Michael Saylor's message to people is, listen, that's more than enough interest rate coverage on our bond portfolio, our preferred portfolio on our balance sheet. So to me, I think that shored up the stock. You can see it sort of blipped up a little bit once that stuff was announced. But yeah, listen, it's a levered bet on Bitcoin. So when Bitcoin's going down, there's going to be a lot of pressure on Strategy.
And I know you also have Ethereum and Avalanche. I mean, you also have exposure to those other areas. I just would love, maybe your thoughts on the markets overall. I know a majority of your holdings are really in crypto at this point. I mean, do you have S&P 500 target? near term or
Yeah,
long
I mean,
term?
listen, we own a lot of S&P. Remember, I also have a fund of hedge funds that we have over $1 billion in. I would just say, and this is the only danger with what I'm saying, is I hate when I'm in the consensus, Nicole, because when you're in the consensus, sometimes the trade is already on and people get it wrong. But I do believe there's going to be a period of excess liquidity in the markets born from the Federal Reserve and the potential new Fed chair. And I also believe the Trump administration, due to midterm strategy, frankly, is going to find ways to apply and put more liquidity into the markets and the overall economy. So I'm not saying there won't be a hangover from that 6, 8, 12 months from now, but I think the next 3 to 6 months are going to be quite good for the market. And so we're cautiously optimistic on the market right now, and primarily due to the Fed. Don't fight the Fed, and the incoming Fed chair, whoever that's going to be, is going to be Trump and interest rate friendly.
Right, and that's probably going to be Kevin Hassett, but we don't know. We don't know. Just a final thought on your new book.
I want to state for the record that I think it's going to be Kevin. I know where the poly markets are, and he slipped a little recently, but I think he'll get the nod.
Right, Kevin Hassett, not Kevin Walsh. Right.
Yes.
I get that. And just maybe a final thought on Solana Rising. I know you did a lot also for your clients to really explain to them, why Solana is it. Final thought?
Well, I mean, listen, the final thought is if you want to learn about the blockchain and all things related to it, this is a great little introductory book to it. And I think you'll learn that simple is better. And one of the great genius ideas around Solana is that it's just using existent computer science technology to develop that protocol, which makes it very easy to use and very cheap to deploy for transactions. And so those are the reasons why we like it a lot here. And to your point, Nicole, I thought it was very important to write it down, not just a research paper, but a more fleshed out book, which explains the story of it and how it fits into the overall ecosystem of Wall Street and the future of finance.
Buy Solana now, Bitcoin $1 million, says the mooch, Anthony Scaramucci. It's always so great to see you. And by the way,
Christmas.
Joe Kernan, and my mom all have that January 6th birthday. So
there you go.
Three greats. I'm definitely.
All right, well, I appreciate it. I want to be in the same category as your mom. I'll just state that for the record. Okay?
Well, I don't know. It's going to be tough, but all good. And Merry Christmas to your family as well. Great to see you. Anthony Scaramucci, founder and managing partner, Skybridge, and also Alphaton advisor.